To outsiders, I am the perfect success story, the future heir of Wang Media, and a powerful star in the entertainment industry. But what they don't know is that my fiancée and my older sister have despised me for 10 years. They have always believed I bullied their beloved Makoto. At my engagement party, they made sure the whole world knew. My fiancé stood in front of everyone and declared, "He's just scum who bullies his classmates. I will never marry him." The entire thing was being live-streamed. Makoto stepped forward with that calm, serene smile of his and said, "I don't blame him anymore. Looking back, the lightboat has passed through countless mountains. Overnight, his reputation soared, and mine was destroyed. Fans swarmed my social media to attack me. Some extreme fans even threw acid at me in real life. I fell into utter despair. In the end, I chose to die with him. But when I opened my eyes again, I was back in my final year of high school. Makoto, younger, still wearing that old uniform, stood a few feet away, pouring water over his head and smiling at me. "Have you figured out how you're going to apologize to me yet?" he asked, and in that moment, I completely lost it. I grabbed his collar, dragged him into the restroom, and shoved his face into the toilet bowl. I laughed. "I'll teach you what real bullying is. A mouth is for talking, not for farting." Chapter 1. The last memory from my previous life was the agony of sulfuric acid eating into my face. Pain so sharp it was almost worse than death. Through my blurred vision, I saw Makoto standing there, his arm around my sister. I grabbed a cake knife and rushed toward him, stabbing it into his chest. Through gritted teeth, I hissed, "Let's go to hell together." When I opened my eyes again, I was stunned by how vivid everything looked. Then I saw Makoto, younger, wearing a faded school uniform, standing by the faucet, pouring water over his head. He turned and smiled at me. "Guess what? Will they believe me, or will they believe you?" And that's when I realized this was that day. The very first day I had been accused of bullying him in my previous life. Seeing me frozen there, Makoto's smile widened. "Have you figured out how you're going to apologize to me yet, Mr. Wang?" Haha. The anger from my past life boiled over. I rushed forward, grabbed his collar, and dragged him into the restroom. He screamed, but I shoved his face into the toilet. "You think you can frame me just by pouring water on yourself?" I snarled. "Let me show you what real bullying is." Makoto struggled wildly, thrashing like a machine running at full speed, but he couldn't break free. All he could do was choke out through the filthy water. "Asshole! George, get the fuck off me!" "Gurgle, gurgle," I laughed. "Your mouth is filthy. Make sure you wash it properly before you go cry to the teacher." Whether this was a second chance at life or just some cruel illusion after death didn't matter. I had completely lost control. Chapter 2. In my previous life, I died on the most glorious night of my career. I had just won my third Best Actor award. Dressed in a custom suit, I stood next to my fiancée Willow at our lavish engagement party, which was being streamed live across the internet. Willow raised her chin and announced proudly, "I will never marry a man who bullied his classmates back in high school." Before I could process her words, Makoto emerged from the crowd. He smiled faintly. "George, do you remember me? The Makoto you bullied for 10 years. You probably never thought one day I'd stand on equal ground with you. But it's okay, I don't blame you anymore." Looking back, the lightboat has passed through countless mountains. The livestream exploded in popularity. Makoto's reputation skyrocketed. Before I could react, reporters, ones clearly arranged by Willow and my sister, swarmed in and surrounded me. "Mr. Wang, we've heard you still bully newcomers on set and act like a diva. Is that true?" Then, before I could defend myself, extreme fans broke through security. They screamed, "Bullying scum, die!" And then they threw sulfuric acid at me. It splashed across my face. The pain was like being burned alive. My vision turned red, then black. I fell from heaven straight into hell. When I came to in this new life, I released Makoto. I looked down at him, lying on the floor with his face smeared in filth. I laughed. "Cry, cry. Go tell the whole school I bullied you. I'm waiting for the show." The memory of acid burning my face flashed again. I stomped on Makoto's face, twice, before walking away. Downstairs, my desk mate David was waiting. "The PE class started a while ago. What were you doing upstairs?" he asked. "Oh, just bullying the new kid," I replied casually. David blinked. What? The famous V once said, "When the whole world thinks you're a bully, you'd better really be one," I said. Who's V? Did he really say that? David asked, baffled. That's not important. We walked toward the playground and ran into Willow. She wasn't in my class, but everyone knew she was my childhood sweetheart and fiancée. Her gaze slid past my face to look behind me. Then she frowned. George, why are you so late? Oh, I heard a new transfer student came to your class. In my past life, whenever Makoto and I clashed, Willow always told me to be magnanimous, to apologize, to forgive, to just let it go. It made her seem like she was on my side, but her words only deepened my guilt and made me look like the bad guy. Rage boiled inside me. Without warning, I slapped her across the face. She covered her cheek, stunned. David was frozen too. For a split second, anger flashed in Willow's eyes, but it was quickly replaced with pitiful tears. She grabbed my hand and said softly, What's wrong, George? Did I do something wrong? Back at school, I started bullying Makoto openly. I poured ink into his drawer. I laughed loudly while he struggled to read English with his heavy accent. I tore apart his physics test paper and let the pieces rain down over his head. Go on, keep reporting me, I sneered. Isn't that what you're best at? The shower of paper fluttered down over him as he glared at me, his eyes flashing with deep hatred. But in the end, he could only apologize, his face humiliated. I'm sorry, George. If I did anything that upset you, I apologize now. I'll change, all right? I chuckled. Just you existing is enough to make me unhappy. I raised an eyebrow. How are you going to change? Should you just die now? He was speechless, unable to say a word, just kept begging for forgiveness. That was the first time I realized how satisfying it felt to be the villain. Of course, he ran to the teacher. The teacher called me to the office. With a dazed look and a frown, I recounted what had happened at the birthday banquet. Then, I pulled out a medical certificate from the hospital. That day, because of his rumors, my sister humiliated me in front of so many people. I lie awake at night thinking about it. I'm tormented and can't sleep. My chest hurts, and even when I do manage to sleep, I wake up from nightmares. I'm still seeing a psychologist, taking medication. The doctor says I have severe depression now. In the end, the teacher had to console me. Everyone could clearly see how much I despised Makoto. David, still confused, asked me, Why are you targeting him like this? Did he do something bad to you? I smiled at him. Can it just be because I'm a bully who uses my family's money to look down on a poor new student? David stared at me. Give me a break. If you were that kind of person, why didn't you bully me? My family is much poorer than his. On our first day as friends, you bought all my stationery for the next 3 years of high school. If you want me to believe you're a bully, it'd be easier for me to believe I'm Jesus. I still get that much, at least. Yes, that's something everyone understands. But my sister and my fiancé don't get it. I curled my lips into a smile, but there was no joy in my eyes. Chapter 6. A month later came the school's centennial celebration. In my past life, Makoto had performed a piano solo at the event. He was noticed by the special admissions officer present and granted the only special admission slot. As for me, I had been practicing guitar for over 10 years and had prepared a song, but then Willow came to find me. The campus was bathed in the setting sun when she slipped into my arms and softly said, Can you not go, George? I'll be jealous. I only want you to sing for me. Back then I was an idiot. I thought this meant she liked me. So on the day of the performance, I didn't go. Instead, I stayed in an empty classroom, singing her one love song after another. When the last note faded, cheers roared from the auditorium. Willow heard it and smiled suddenly. She had always been so gentle and reserved in front of me, her smiles faint, as though hidden behind a veil of mist. But this time I could clearly see her emotions shift. I put down the guitar and asked cluelessly, Are you happy? She paused before saying, Yes, I'm happy. Back then I thought she was happy because I was singing just for her. But much later I realized she was happy because Makoto's performance was a huge success. The only light in her life now had a brilliant future ahead of him. This time I submitted my program. But it wasn't a solo guitar performance. I pulled together everyone in the class who was interested in performing. I paid for everything myself, hired the best instructors, bought the most expensive costumes, custom-made instruments and props, and even booked a professional dance troupe. Compared to that, Makoto's piano solo seemed too simple. I don't know what he told Sophia, but when I got home that evening, she stopped me in the garden. "George," she said blankly, "for the school celebration performance, withdraw your program." I smiled and asked, "Sophia, are you barking?" She snorted coldly. "Don't think I'm negotiating with you." A hint of icy mockery flickered in her eyes. "If you insist on going, the consequences are on you." I stopped and stared into her cold eyes. "Sis, does your crush, who's been learning piano for over 10 years, really not have the confidence to beat me on the same stage?" What a waste. Chapter 7. Few days before the school celebration, Willow found me. "George," she said softly, "what happened last time was my fault. But you blocked all my contacts and wouldn't meet with me. I don't know what happened. Do you have a misunderstanding about me, or have you fallen for someone else?" As she said the last few words, there was a sharp pain in her voice. She looked wronged. "But you said yourself you would always love me the most." A rush of anger and pain surged in my chest. I had liked her sincerely for so many years. She didn't want me to act in couple roles with female actresses, so I gave up countless opportunities with famous directors. She told me Makoto came from a poor background and had been bullied in the orphanage, and begged me not to hold his offenses against him, so I forgave him again and again. I just wanted sincerity in return. But all I got were years of slander and hatred. At that moment, I stopped pretending. I grabbed Willow by the collar, shoving her hard against the tree. She gasped in pain, but before she could speak, slap, I struck her across the face. Hard enough that her pale skin turned red and swollen immediately. I leaned close and said slowly, "You've known Makoto for a long time." "I know. You like him, don't you?" "Why are you crying in front of me? Is it because you wanted to use me to pave the way for Makoto? You really are just like your mother, who loves to play the third wheel. Disgusting." Her emotions brewed like a storm. But she couldn't say a word. I sneered. Let her go and turned to leave. That night, I had a rare dream of what happened after I died in my past life. The knife plunged into Makoto's chest, and I died in agony. He was rushed into emergency treatment. Outside the emergency room, Willow choked. "You said he wouldn't get hurt." Sophia rolled her eyes. "I already agreed to let you be the mistress, living together with the three of us. What more do you want? You're just a bastard. Without me, could you even step through the Liu family's door?" Willow trembled slightly, furrowing her brows. "Did you help me?" "Clearly it was." She stopped, pressing her lips together. Sophia snorted coldly. "Yeah, my brother helped you, but he's dead now. The person who killed him is still someone you contacted. Have you forgotten?" Willow stared silently at the flashing red light above the operating room door. Moments later, Makoto was wheeled out. The doctor said, "The patient is still in critical condition." Willow's gaze fell on his pale face. Then, slowly and deliberately, she said, "I haven't forgotten. I never regret it." I woke up suddenly, stumbling to the bathroom and dry heaving into the toilet for a long time. When I finally straightened up, I supported myself on the counter and stared into the mirror. My bloodshot eyes were filled with hatred. "Never regret it," I muttered. "It's okay. This lifetime, you'll regret it. Regret being born. Just wait and see." Chapter 8. On the day of the school celebration performance, I ran into Makoto by the artificial lake. He looked smug, confident he was destined to win. "George, do you really think being the heir of the Wang family will always protect you? You've bullied me for so long. Do you think I won't fight back? I'll make you pay 1,000 times over. Even if you know about Willow and me, so what? She loves me. Your sister loves me too. You're just a useless loser relying on your parents for everything." He kept talking, but I just smiled and replied with one line, "Is the toilet water tasty?" His face froze in shock. I turned and left. In the evening, the fiery sunset stretched across the sky. I changed into my performance outfit with the rest of the team and was heading toward the backstage area with my instrument. Halfway there, I suddenly realized that the prop I had prepared for the finale curtain call was missing. Did I leave it in the rehearsal room? I thought back carefully and decided to go back and find it. David asked, "Do you want me to come with you?" I replied, "No, it's not much. I can handle it on my own." I smiled and said, "You guys go on ahead and get ready in the back. then talk to the stage manager about arranging our props. The vast building was eerily quiet. I took 2 steps at a time, rushing up the stairs, but as I was about to reach the rehearsal room floor, I suddenly stopped. There was someone standing a few steps away. The golden red light of the setting sun filtered through the window, casting its glow on only part of her face. In the shadow, her cold and malicious eyes flashed. It was Willow. Before I could process what was happening, she suddenly lunged at me. My mind froze for a second. By the time I reacted, my body was already light and I fell backward. Behind me was a flight of high stairs. I landed hard on my back, rolling down the steps. Pain overwhelmed me as I hit the iron railing and felt a sharp crack in my ankle. I couldn't move. Willow walked over, crouched down beside me and looked at me with that innocent yet aggrieved expression in her eyes. She said, "George, don't blame me. You've had everything since birth. Even if you miss this opportunity, there are plenty of other paths for you. But Makoto and you are different. He's already done his best with the effort he can give." With that, she raised her foot and stomped down on my leg. In that instant, the scene from my dream flashed in my mind. She was standing outside the hospital room with my sister, looking at Makoto, who had been wheeled out of the emergency room with eyes filled with tenderness and affection. But when it came to me, her voice was indifferent as she said, "I've never regretted it. 15 crucial years of my life. The most passionate and sincere love. And it was all tied to a person like this." I suddenly burst into laughter. Just before her foot could land on my calf, I swiftly pulled away. I cursed, "Bitch!" The pain from my sprained ankle made my breath hitch, but I still seized the moment while Willow was still processing what happened. I grabbed her hair and slammed her head into the railing, through gritted teeth. I spat, "Trash. You want to harm me again?" "You're dreaming!" Willow's head hit the railing hard, making a loud thud. Her forehead collided with the sharp edge, and fresh blood immediately flowed out. It trickled down her cheek, dripping onto her clothes. "George!" I took a couple of deep breaths, releasing her hair and standing up. The pain from my twisted ankle was relentless, but I didn't care. I looked down at her eyes, which were clouded with pain, and slowly began to smile. I said, "What a devoted girl, willing to sacrifice herself just to have me ruin myself here to secure a future for your beloved. Is this the warning Sophia gave me? You two had already planned who would be the dominant one and who would be the submissive, right? How disgusting. How stupid." I took off my shirt and began wiping the blood off her face until the white fabric was stained and splotchy. Then I threw her down on the ground and, with the darkening sky above me, ran toward the grand hall. From afar, I could hear the distant melodious sound of a piano. Makoto was indeed playing the same piece from my past life, Clair de Lune by Debussy. He was sitting at a pure white piano, dressed in a custom suit. The stage was completely dark except for a single spotlight shining on him, making him appear like the only star in the night, just like in my past life, when he had climbed over my blood to reach the top during my engagement banquet, so dazzling that it almost blinded me. I ran down the narrow aisle between the rows of seats. I pushed past the security guards and the host who tried to stop me. I jumped onto the stage. Standing in the one spotlight, I kicked Makoto over and punched the piano. In his shocked and dumbfounded gaze, I shouted in rage, "Play! Play, play! I'll make you play! Send someone to harm me and you still dare to sit here playing piano, damn it!" Sophia was waiting for me at the door. She looked at me with disdain and asked, "George, when will you stop? Just because you can't compare to Makoto, you hate him so much that you even rip up the music sheets he gave the teacher. You're such a rotten person." I stood there for a few seconds, confused, trying to process her words. But before I could defend myself, she cut me off. "You're just a little liar born from an old con man, full of lies. I won't believe a single word you say." Amid the murmurs of the audience, I heard someone shout, "Blood! Look, he's covered in blood." My shirt was stained with a mix of blood and dust. My whole body was covered in grime, and my ankle was swollen and bruised. Every detail of my appearance confirmed the truth of my words. Makoto, still holding the piano bench, struggled to get up. His eyes were full of hatred and resentment, but eventually he put on his usual polite mask. He said calmly, "Wang, I don't know what you're talking about. There must be some misunderstanding. But this is my performance, and out of respect for the audience, you shouldn't have barged in like this. Sophia stood up angrily from the audience and shouted, "George, are you crazy?" I ignored her, shoved Makoto aside, and sat down at the piano. Then I began to play Beethoven's Symphony No. 5. In my previous life, I had practiced this piece for 3 whole months, learning it inside and out so I could play it authentically for a film. I wasn't a virtuoso, but it was more than enough for this moment. The stirring music filled the empty hall, resonating with the faint hum of electricity. When the piece ended, I turned to face Makoto. My voice was steady and cold. "You ruined my engagement party. You sowed discord between my family and me. You spread rumors about me in front of my family and friends. Those were small matters. I'll repay you in my own way. But when you had Willow push me down the stairs, trying to break my leg just to keep me off this stage..." I paused, watching his face go pale. Then I sneered. "Your piano is the one thing you take pride in, and yet you can't even compete with me in this. Did you lose all confidence?" The stage erupted into chaos. Eventually, the teacher in charge of the school celebration performance dragged Makoto and me off the stage. The host quickly came forward to regain control. Our group performance was next. As I passed the other performers backstage, David rushed over and grabbed my hand. "George! What happened to you? Are you injured?" "I should have gone with you." I smiled. "I'm fine." I patted his shoulder and reassured him. "Go on and perform. You've practiced so hard, just give yourself a result you can be proud of. The first place winner of the school celebration performance would receive a 100,000 yuan prize. From the start, this performance wasn't about me. As I watched them walk onto the stage, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Then, as pain and exhaustion surged through me, I closed my eyes. Darkness swallowed me. I woke up in the hospital. That night, Sophia stormed into my room, furious. "Crazy, George! You're insane!" She had wanted to push her beloved Makoto into the spotlight, to watch him shine, but I understood her deeper intentions. Destroy one man, then raise another. That was the ultimate proof of her superiority over men, wasn't it? But how could I ever give her that satisfaction again? I laughed. So what? He didn't even finish his piece. The plot to break my leg got exposed, and now he won't get into the school he wants. Then I suddenly remembered something. Oh, right. Your accomplice Willow is still lying on the floor of the complex building. If you get the chance, make sure to send her to the hospital. I grabbed the blanket and laughed again, the pain in my sprained ankle throbbing so hard it twisted my facial features. In the reflection of her pupils, I saw myself, a man on the brink of madness, or maybe from the day I died in my past life, I had already gone mad. Sophia instinctively took 2 steps back, but the terror in her eyes lasted only a second. She quickly regained her usual cold, high and mighty demeanor. "Does it matter, George? Even if Makoto fails, you still haven't succeeded. Not only that, your crazy, delusional outburst was fully captured on camera. This time, you can't just fake a diagnosis and get away with it. The school has already contacted our parents and is preparing to expel you." I burst out laughing. "Expelled? Do you think I care?" "Sophia, don't forget. I'm a Wang. Just like Willow said, if this path is closed, I still have many others to take. From the very start, my only goal was to bring Makoto down. That's it," I thought to myself. "The slanders he spread about me in my past life, I will make every single one of them come true. The path he walked before, I will block it step by step. Our debts aren't settled yet." Makoto Chapter 10 in front of everyone. I caused a scene at the school celebration. I even hit Willow and Makoto. The news that I had bullied Makoto spread online, triggering a wave of public controversy. The dispute between the rich and the poor, whether 10 years ago or 10 years later, always makes for a heated discussion. But this time, things were different, because I had spoken so clearly on stage, because of my disheveled state, because of the anger and madness in my face. Many people actually started to take my side. One netizen commented, "Maybe it's not just the rich bullying the poor. His music doesn't seem like the type of person to do that." Another replied, "I'm laughing. The person above must be a paid commenter, using music to judge someone's character." Someone else said, "Forget everything else. Just look at his state. His ankle is swollen like a loaf of bread and he's covered in blood. Who bullies someone and ends up like this?" And another added, "Forget everything else. This guy's mental state is 8 versions ahead of the times." Finally, David and my other close friends started engaging with netizens. My brother Wang is a man of principle. He's not like what you're saying. It was Makoto who provoked him first. The online debate only escalated. During my days in the hospital, I had no idea what Sophia had told my mom, but when I was discharged and came home, my mother looked at me coldly. "It's been a while since I've kept track of you and you've become lawless. Since your school won't let you continue studying, why not go abroad? Lay low for a few years and come back once things calm down." I wasn't surprised. She had always been biased towards Sophia. The reason was simple. I was born through a difficult delivery, and she had always carried a sense of guilt about it. Back then, my sister was easy to raise. She never cried or caused trouble, which made my mother believe raising children was simple. She suggested to my father that they have a second child, so we could look after each other. But after I was born through a dangerous delivery, she insisted that my father was the one who wanted a son to carry on the Wang family name. She said I was a debt she had paid with her body, that I owed my sister my entire life. So, when the engagement party incident happened in my past life, my mother knew everything, but never told me until after I died. But honestly, I didn't care anymore. I tugged at the corner of my lips and said, "All right, sounds good." I was thinking of going abroad to study finance and major in business. Both of them froze for a moment. When my mother looked at me again, there was a deeper meaning in her gaze. I said, "Make sure to keep this from Sophia." I arrived in San Francisco a month earlier than Sophia. Outside the school, just as I was about to ask someone for directions, I suddenly saw a familiar face on the lawn nearby. It was Kevin, looking several years younger. He was standing in front of a tall, thin girl with short hair and glasses who was staring at him coldly. The girl said, "That's my research. Who gave you the right to take it and negotiate a business deal without my permission?" Kevin smiled awkwardly. "What do you mean, yours and mine? Didn't we both work on it together?" The girl shot back, "The idea was mine, the experiments were done by me, and you just helped out for a while recording some data. How can you think you have the right to handle my work?" She wasn't backing down. Upon hearing her words, Kevin's expression darkened. He said, "Anna, don't go too far. We're about to graduate. Aren't I thinking about our future? What's the point of holding on to it yourself? Shouldn't we find a reliable company to collaborate with and develop it to maximize the benefits?" Anna responded firmly. "I'll say this one last time. It's my research." She stared at him coldly. "The patent is in my name. You don't even understand the core technology, and you're talking about finding someone to help develop it? As long as I'm alive, that'll never happen. Also, we're breaking up. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other." Then she turned and walked away. Kevin stood there, staring at her retreating figure, his eyes slowly growing colder. In his pupils, a glint of murderous intent seemed to flash. I stood there, suddenly enlightened. In my past life, I had once overheard my mom asking Sophia how she managed to get someone like Kevin under control. At that time, Sophia had smiled faintly and said, "Because he needs my help." But what was even more important was this. In my past life, I had never even heard of Anna before. Chapter 13, I found a way to meet Anna. In a cafe far from their school, she sat down across from me. She got straight to the point. "Mr. Wang, I know why you're here, but I'm not selling my work." I replied, "Why not?" She hesitated for a moment before answering, "Currently, it's only a semi-finished product." I froze mid-motion, the cup almost to my lips. She continued, "I know that business people care about commercial value, but I don't. I only care about the results I'll achieve in the end, how it can change human technology. To me, that is what truly matters." I stared at her intently. When she spoke about her ideals, her plain face radiated an indescribable, almost blinding brilliance. She was a remarkable girl. She should have been a great scientist whose name went down in history. But in my past life, because of others' selfishness, she died in a foreign country, like a speck of dust lost in the wheels of history. She said, "Mr. Wang, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving." Suddenly, I reached out and stopped her. I looked at her earnestly. "Miss Anna, I'm willing to provide all the funding and resources you need for your research, and in return, you only need to help me with a small task once you have the finished product. Your results will still belong to you, and history will bear your name. How does that sound?"
The day I returned to my country, the first snowflakes fell, covering the ground. As I wheeled my suitcase out of the airport, I immediately spotted an advertisement beside me.
It was a poster for a movie starring Makoto. Over the years, while I was abroad building my company to rival Sophia, who was gradually taking over Wang's, she hadn't been idle either. After failing the special admissions process and her interview rejection, Makoto was still sent into a film academy by Sophia and successfully debuted in the entertainment industry. She really was as persistent as ever. I sneered, then got into the car. The car drove through the snow-covered traffic, heading straight to the company building. 3 days later, the bidding event marked another crucial turning point. Anna and I spent 3 days in the office ensuring the plan was optimized to perfection. Then, at the public bidding event, we secured the contract without any surprises. When the winning company was announced, I stood up from my seat and met Sophia's shocked gaze. "George?" she gasped. I smirked. "Long time no see, sis." At the end of the event, she chased me down the hallway and blocked me. Still in disbelief, she asked, "Rainy season is your company?" "You hid Anna after she went missing, didn't you?" I laughed. Calm down, Sophia." I raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean, hid her? You and she don't even know each other. Why are you so obsessed with finding her? Don't tell me you're planning something illegal." Then, seeing the frustration in her eyes, I laughed and walked away. This time, I returned to the country in a very high-profile manner. After securing the contract, I began socializing widely, meeting many notable figures in the business world, holding exclusive rights to Anna's patent, and having just snatched a major project from Wang's. Everyone treated me with the utmost politeness and friendliness. It was something I had never experienced in my past life. Despite having won 3 Best Actor awards, people really need to control the means of production, I said, raising my glass in reflection. David, sitting beside me, turned and gave me a once-over. "I feel like you went abroad for 4 years but came back looking like you've aged 10 years. I replied, "That's normal, right? After all, when you're 18, you can act reckless because you're young. Now that I've graduated from college, before I show my fangs, I need to at least look respectable." With that, I raised my paddle and called, "2 million. Makoto suddenly turned around. Willow, sitting next to him, also looked at me. The moment our gazes met, she seemed momentarily lost. I noticed a faint scar on her forehead. I found it particularly intriguing. Makoto called out, 2,600,000. Coming back to his senses, he quickly raised his paddle and began bidding against me. Clearly, this diamond-studded bracelet was something he intended to buy for Willow. Unlike my sister, the strong woman it seemed, Makoto preferred the delicate and petite Willow. I kept bidding. Watching as he spent 6 million on that bracelet, I chuckled. Such deep feelings. Willow, holding the bracelet, looked at me silently. After a long pause, she softly called out, "George Gega." I hurriedly stopped her. "Stop calling me that. I'm going to throw up." I exaggeratedly stepped back, giving her a once-over. After a moment, I scoffed and said, "You're more capable than your little mistress, Mom. At least you succeeded in rising to the top. I wonder how you and my sister arrange your schedules. In a week, you do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and she does Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. How about Sunday together?" I didn't even try to hide the volume of my voice. Sure enough, as soon as the auction ended, business friends came to ask me what was going on. I acted embarrassed and said, "My sister and that Liu family's illegitimate daughter both like the same little actor. Who doesn't have a love-struck brain in their family? They're doing it for true love. How moving. I can accept anything." Not only did I gossip about the 3 of them, I also brought funding into the film industry and helped promote new talent, stole several key roles from Makoto's past. Like Sophia couldn't stand it and immediately retaliated against me, and just as I had been waiting for, without her making a move. How could she expose her flaws? Chapter 14, my name suddenly trended online alongside my company, Rainy Season. Founder George and school bullying. George spread malicious rumors about his elder sister. Makoto bullied. The video of me smashing Makoto's piano during the school celebration performance was re-uploaded, but this time, they cut off the part where I played the Destiny piece afterward. What's more, they contacted my high school classmates to prove that I had indeed bullied Makoto back in the day. In the video, a female classmate said, Yes, George didn't like Makoto at all. He tore up his homework, poured ink into his drawer, and led all the boys in the class to isolate him. But because he's a rich second generation with money and power, Makoto couldn't do anything about it. He had to endure all the humiliation. Later, the matter blew up and the school expelled him. Then he went abroad to study and gain some prestige. Now he's transformed into the founder of Rainy Season. The company's stock price plummeted for several days. Several partners called me politely, asking what was going on. I knew that if I didn't provide a satisfactory answer, the partnerships would be terminated. I said, "Please wait a moment." I twirled the pen in my hand, smiling as I stalled. We're all businessmen here, and we know that without a 10-to-1 guarantee, one shouldn't make a move easily. Fortunately, Makoto wasn't as calm as I expected. He hated me even more than in the past life, and seeing my public reputation take a hit, he took the opportunity to jump in. During a live broadcast, he mentioned the incident. I remember back then when the teacher asked me to read the text aloud. Since I went to a village school, one teacher taught many subjects and they only taught basic English. It's a bit embarrassing, but when he laughed, that was the first time I realized my pronunciation was off. At that school celebration, I also practiced a lot. I had been learning piano for so many years. His tone sounded calm, but at the end, his eyes reddened slightly. The comments section, whether from curious onlookers or Sophia's hired trolls, was flooded with, "Brother, you're not embarrassing at all. You're already amazing." It's his shamelessness. He should reflect on himself before mocking hardworking people. Some others commented, "Wait, did anyone else notice that he said he went to a village school where they didn't even teach English but also studied piano for over 10 years? Doesn't that contradict itself?" I couldn't help but laugh out loud when I saw the last comment. But it flashed by quickly, soon buried in a sea of text. The live stream that day broke 5 million viewers. The next day, my mother called me back, extremely angry, demanding that I disband the company and merge Rainy Season into the Wang Group. She said, "After studying abroad for 4 years, now you come back and cause this mess. You should hurry up, hand over the company, and go publicly apologize." I quietly looked at her and said, "Mom, get it straight. This mess was caused by my sister, not because of my company." She snorted, "But you were the one who bullied him first." Then she paused and said, "I should never have given birth to you. If it weren't for your father insisting on having a son, how could I have suffered so much? You owe me and you owe your sister. You'll never be able to repay it." I was speechless. Dad insisted on having a son? According to your logic, our family must be so biased toward men, right? So why is my sister managing the company? Since childhood, you've had this philosophy of raising sons in poverty and daughters in luxury, with all the good food, the best clothes, and the best toys going to my sister. At that time, you said I owed her. Now I still owe her. Where's the debt? Soon, Wang Group and Liu Group announced a partnership. The two companies teamed up to target my company. Stealing several major projects from Rainy Season, my mother publicly declared she wanted to sever ties with me, saying she couldn't stand having such a malicious son. In the company parking lot, I narrowly escaped an acid attack from one of Makoto's extreme fans. She, along with my mother, secretly discussed using my mental health records and the diagnosis certificate from my high school breakdown to have me committed to a psychiatric hospital. In both this life and the last, this was the dirtiest tactic they could employ, and now my counterattack was about to begin. Watching myself retreat with no way to fight back, things were spiraling out of control. At just the right moment, Makoto won his first Best Actor award. His birthday was coming up, so he hosted a grand celebration. The venue was decorated luxuriously, and he invited many of his fans, even setting up a live stream for the event. Makoto graciously thanked his fans in front of the camera. The next segment was a series of video greetings from fans. On the big screen behind him, a video suddenly flashed. It was a bit blurry, the angle sneaky, like it had been secretly filmed. In the dressing room on set, another actor was eating a lunchbox when Makoto suddenly kicked him to the ground. He walked over, looking down at him. "Sophia is my girlfriend. You dare to flirt with my woman? You really have guts, huh?" The actor stammered, "No, Teacher Ito. That day I gave everyone on set a cup of milk tea." Makoto laughed coldly. "Do you even know who I am and who you are? You're too ignorant. Do you want me to have my girlfriend blacklist you?" Then he slammed the actor's head into the edge of a table. The man collapsed to the ground. Makoto said, "Think about the bullying video you've been spreading about me. Once you're blacklisted, how are you going to make a living?" The last shot showed him opening a blood packet and smearing it all over his face. "Turn it off!" Makoto shouted, rushing forward to try and block the screen, but it was useless. The crowd of fans went wild. Amid the chaos, Makoto and Sophia's names surged to the top of the trending list. One of the hottest trending topics was, "Makoto bullied again." The number of comments shot up at an alarming rate. David, sitting beside me, was furiously typing on his phone. "Makoto, how are you bullied everywhere you go? Is the whole world against you?" His comment quickly became the top-rated one. One user wrote, "My God, he's so crazy. The corner of that table was so sharp. How could he actually go through with it bleeding like that?" Another replied, "How else could he prove he was bullied? Stop calling him Makoto. Just rename him Ito and let him keep playing the victim." Someone else added, "If I'm not mistaken, the movie he won Best Actor for wasn't even supposed to be his role." Another popular actor was supposed to play the part but was later frozen out. Another comment said, "Can't get the role through auditions, so he uses connections to blacklist the competition, huh?" Then another video hit the trending list. It was recorded at a university abroad. A racist laughed loudly after a foreign student gave a speech, mocking his not-so-perfect English pronunciation. The person repeated mockingly, "Do you know what this is? This is standard British English, joker." Then I grabbed his collar and punched him in the face. With perfect accent, I retorted, "Since you like laughing so much, is that how you laugh at your dad's funeral?" The man went ballistic, yelling about wanting to duel me, but once again, I knocked him out with another punch. The person who posted the video was another foreign student. They wrote, "I'm also from a poor village born at the bottom of society. But unlike Makoto, our village didn't have a piano, nor a kind benefactor giving us thousands of dollars a month. I'm just a kid who spent almost 30 years working up the courage to see the world, only to be ridiculed the moment I stepped out. I just can't stand seeing someone turn black into white, slandering the people who helped them." The comment section exploded. "Wait, is this the George who was accused of bullying Makoto and mocking his English pronunciation? Finally someone said it. Who in their village learns piano for 10 years? The logic is all messed up and still so many people believe it. Damn, bro, you're tough." Someone else commented, "The benefactor? Isn't Sophia Makoto's benefactor George's sister? Who knows, maybe he's trying to fight his brother for the inheritance and is purposely slandering him." Then came the video from my 18th birthday. Makoto, trying to secure funding, jumped off a rooftop and falsely accused another orphan at the institution of pushing him, using surveillance footage as proof. There was also a series of sordid evidence, including my sister's involvement, in the plot to have Anna killed, along with other illegal activities. My mother was implicated in quite a few of these crimes as well. Thanks to my father, who had saved a lot of this, I was able to connect the dots from both my past and present lives. I carefully gathered all the evidence and uploaded it to the trending list. Thanks to their previous manipulations, there was already massive public interest in this feud. Once the illegal activities were revealed, the situation erupted. Onlookers quickly called the police. They had no chance of covering this up now. Those who tried to manipulate, public opinion would ultimately be consumed by it. How do you like this ending? I thought. Chapter 16. The day my mother and Sophia were taken away by the police, my father tossed a divorce agreement in front of me. Sophia, in disbelief, shouted at him, "I knew it! I knew you favored boys over girls. Dad, am I not your daughter? Why do you favor George so much? I'm your child too." My father sighed. "Your mother favors you, so I favor your brother. This world is always fair, isn't it?" Meanwhile, the projects Wang Group and Liu Group had stolen from me began to fall apart. Their charges grew to include economic crimes. I took over the weakened Wang Group, merging it into rainy season. Then I went to meet Angelica, who had returned to the Liu family. She was Willow's half-sister. Her parents were in a business marriage, she said. "When I was young, I hated that woman. I thought she destroyed my family. But later I realized if my dad hadn't cheated, Willow wouldn't even exist." She picked up her coffee cup and continued, "To die at the hands of her own daughter, that's her retribution. I had contacted her a year ago to form a partnership, I promised to help her expel Willow from the Liu family. In exchange, she agreed to help me with many domestic resources. This public opinion battle, for example, was largely her doing, she asked. But I'm curious, how did you guess that her mother's suicide was connected to her? I smiled and remained silent, because in my past life, that was exactly how she treated me. Before the verdict was announced, I made a special trip to the prison to visit some old acquaintances. The first one I saw was my sister. She glared at me. I chuckled. Don't look at me like that, big sis. I know what you want to ask. Being kicked out like a stray dog. I've already been through that once. You don't think I spent all these years partying abroad, living a life of indulgence, do you? The toughest period of my life, I barely had time to sleep. Between classes and running the company, I had to hustle constantly to make connections. I spent my time tracing the evidence of the 3 criminals from the clues left in my past life. Their methods were so practiced, they left no room for error. I was sure it wasn't their first time. Evil people couldn't just be evil in front of me. I'm in the shadows. They had brought forth even more darkness. I was right, I said. Sophia, Mom always says I owe you. That I shouldn't have been born. That I'm the result of a patriarchal mindset. And you believe that too. But I know very well. It's just a justification for your selfishness. You never saw me as your brother, so you thought nothing of using any means to take everything you wanted. The sad part is, I never even intended to inherit the family business. If it weren't for your meddling, all of this would have been yours. So remember this. You're not fighting me, and you're not fighting some outdated patriarchal thoughts. You're just fighting for the sake of fighting, and that's why you'll lose to your own obsession. The second person I went to see was Makoto. He looked disheveled, with hollow eyes. Through the glass, his gaze was full of hatred, as if he wanted to devour me. He couldn't pretend to be polite anymore. He bared his teeth and asked, if you had evidence all along, why didn't you use it sooner? Is playing dumb to outsmart the tough guy fun? I replied, of course it is. Otherwise, how else could you have played the role for so long? I stood up. Of course it's more interesting when you think you've won. I could have revealed all the evidence earlier, but that wouldn't have been enough. I wanted you to believe you had won, that you had everything. Then, on the eve of the new dawn, I'd watch everything go up in smoke. That's what I experienced in my past life. This time, it's your turn. Chapter 17. The last person I went to see was Willow. Honestly, I hadn't planned on seeing her. Makoto and I had always been enemies, and Sophia was tied to me by blood. As for Willow, after my love for her disappeared without a trace, we had no connection left. But the police told me Willow wanted to see me, so through the glass, I sat face to face with her. She silently stared at me for a long time, until I grew impatient and stood up to ask, what do you want from me? She bit her lip and whispered, it shouldn't have been like this. She softly said, the Liu family should have been mine, and we should have been engaged by now. I stopped in my tracks and turned around. She looked at me steadily, her eyes glinting with an unreadable light. I gazed at her face. If it weren't for the faint scar on her forehead, for a moment I might have thought I was looking at Willow from my past life. Coming to my senses, I found it all absurd, laughable. I said, just an engagement? Why don't you mention what comes after that? You used me to be recognized by the Liu family, then teamed up with Sophia to kill me. She trembled. But a long, long time later, I regretted it, she continued. But you'll never know. I really wish you could know. It was absurd. It was laughable. I said, yes, I'm dead. Of course I don't know. I turned away, leaning against the glass as I spoke each word, cutting through the silence. But even if I knew, what difference would it make? Who cares about your regret? This time I'm the one who wins. You're the one going to hell. Willow, this is what you deserve. The winter of that year came early. By the time I left, the sky outside had already turned dark. Anna called to tell me she would be going abroad after the new year to start new experiments at the Research Institute. I said okay and wished her safe travels. After hanging up, I saw a message from David on WeChat saying he was already at the hot pot restaurant and I should hurry over to settle the bill. I smiled and replied with a simple, Okay. Outside the car window, a crescent moon hung high in the sky, casting a faint light on the dark night. After this night passes and the moon sets, my sun will rise again.